To download a full printable PDF version of this pattern, click the link on the screen now, in the description below, or by visiting clubcrochet.com/goblin. Hey there, I'm Louie, and in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet a goblin from my new Goblinoid pattern bundle available now at clubcrochet.com/goblinoid. And that includes all the patterns you see here, like trolls and orcs, ogres and hobgoblins, as well as how to add details like hair and weapons and items and stuff like that. And you can get that again at clubcrochet.com/goblinoid. And if you wait to the end of the video, I'll be sharing a discount code that you can use to get it for a little bit cheaper. In this video, we're going to be making the goblin. You're going to need the following materials. I'm using all worsted weight yarn in green, white, and brown. And because I'm using worsted weight cotton yarn, I'm using a size G 4mm crochet hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors, some stuffing, and a darning needle. I like using a crimped end darning needle. It makes it a little bit easier to sew in the ends. And the last thing you're going to need is some safety bead eyes to make the eyes. I'm not going to be showing you how to make an eye patch for this one, but that will be available in the bundle. So yeah. All right, well, let's get hooking and start with the lips and tooth here. All right, so we're going to start with our green yarn to make the lip. And this is going to be relatively simple to do. All you have to do for the lip is chain 8. That's it. They're pretty simple to make, and then you'll just sew it onto the face once we got it done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then all we have to do now is cut the yarn and pull it through. And again, we'll sew this onto the face once we've got it mostly made. So next up, we'll be making the tooth, and you'll need your white yarn for this. And we'll just start with the slip knot. And for the tooth, it's pretty simple. You'll just chain 2, 1 and 2. Pull that second chain a little bit tighter. And now we want to work into the back loops of these chains, meaning that you want to use that loop right here. Okay, and you want to use the second chain from the hook, or the first chain that you made right there. Get your crochet hook in there. Okay, and we're just going to make a single crochet into that back loop. Okay, and I like pulling it pretty tight because I like them to have sharp teeth. Okay, and I like kind of even pinch that end there. All right, and now all you have to do is cut the yarn, chain 1, and just pull it all the way through like that, and just tie it tight, and we'll sew this onto the lip once we have that sewn onto the face. All right, so next let's talk about the nose. Okay, so for the nose, I actually have 3 different ways that I make my nose. The first way is just to basically embroider it on, giving it kind of like a stubbed nose look. It's very subtle, and it makes it look more like a baby orc maybe. And that's really simple. You're just basically embroidering it on once you have the eyes sewn, added on. We won't be doing this in this video. It's kind of my least favorite way to make the nose. The second way is to crochet it on, or to crochet it separately and then sew it on. So I'm going to be showing you in this video how to crochet it separately, but I won't be showing you how to sew it on because I don't actually like using this method. I like to limit the amount of things that I sew onto my pieces because I just hate sewing things together. So I'm going to be showing you how to crochet it separately though, in case you don't want to use the third method. The third method is using a spiked bobble stitch, which is a stitch that I don't know if that's actually the name of the stitch. I just kind of made it up. It's a mix between a mini bobble and a mini peacock put together. And I'll be showing you how to crochet the spiked bobble. It can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're working with small yarn, but it limits the amount of things that you have to sew on, and it looks pretty much the same. I mean, it looks a little different from front on, but yeah. And so I'm going to be showing you how to do that when we get to the part in the pattern. But now let's just show you how to do it, to crochet it separately so that you can sew it on if you don't want to use the spiked bobble. If you want to skip this section, there should be maybe a time code or something. So for the crocheted version of the nose, we're going to be using our green yarn here. And I'm going to start with a magic loop method, but you can also use the chain 2 method if you feel more comfortable with that. If you don't know how to do the magic loop method, I have a video for it. There should be a link right here or in the description below. Okay, so we're going to start by single crocheting 3 into the second chain from the hook or into the magic loop if you're doing the magic loop method like me. So that's pretty easy for round 1. We're just going to be single crocheting 3, and then we'll just tighten it a little tighter. There we go. Okay. Now into, we're going to be working in the round here, meaning we don't need to turn around. And we're going to find our first single crochet we made, so we just count back 1, 2, 3. And we're going to work, I'm going to loosen up my stitch right there, so I have more mobility with my crochet hook. We're going to work into the back loop only, meaning here's both loops. This is what it looked like if we were working into both loops. But we only want to work into the furthest loop away, the back loop. So we're going to go into that back loop only. And once you're into the stitch, you can kind of tighten your crochet loop. And we will do an increase into that back loop only, meaning 2 single crochets into that back loop. So that's 1. Okay, go into that back loop again. And 2 into that back loop. Okay, and this is going to make it really pointy. Now we're going to work into both loops, okay, for our next stitch. So here's our next one right here. And we're going to work into both loops. And we're just going to do a single crochet into that next one, and then one more single crochet into the next under both loops, okay? So that's an increase and then 2 single crochets. And the increase is in working in the back loop, and the single crochets are working into both loops. And so you can kind of see how it makes it a little pointy. Yeah. All right, and to finish this nose up, it's really small. All you have to do is single crochet 1 into the next stitch. Okay, and we're working in both loops, and then slip stitch 1 into this last stitch right here. Okay, we'll just slip stitch that. We're going to cut the yarn. You want enough to sew it onto the face, and just pull it all the way through. Now I won't be sewing this onto my character's face because I don't like sewing things together, and I like using the spiked bobble, but this is a good option if you don't want to make the spiked bobble. All right, well, without further ado, let's get going on the body. Okay, so we're going to start with a magic loop method again. And again, you can use the chain 2 if you'd like. And for round 1 of the body, we're going to be single crocheting 6 into the magic loop or into the second chain from the hook. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and now I can tighten my magic loop up. That's going to be the end of round 1. Okay. For round 2, we're going to be working an increase into each stitch around. Okay, so we're going to start with our first stitch right here, and we're working in the round, meaning that we're not going to turn around for the entire piece. We're working into both loops for all of these stitches as well. And I'm going to work around this tail for the first few stitches, but we're going to be working increases, meaning 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So that's 1, there's 2. You're going to be working 6 increases, which is going to bring you up from 6 stitches to 12 stitches. So you should have 12 stitches by the end of round 2. Okay. That should be enough for this to work around this. So we're just going to cut it and get it out of our way. Okay. All right, and that's going to be the end of round 2. You should have 12 stitches around. For round 3, we're going to be going up from 12 stitches to 18 stitches, and we're also going to be adding our spiked bobble stitch into this round. So if you are crocheting, if you had crocheted it separately and you want to sew it on, then just skip the spiked bobble when we get there. If not, then I'll show you how to do it. So we're going to start round 3 by doing a single crochet into the first stitch, and then an increase into the next stitch. Okay? And if you're not using the spiked bobble, then the pattern here is going to be continuing that 6 times around. So 1 single crochet and then an increase 6 times around, which will bring you up from 12 to 18 stitches. If you are making the spiked bobble, then after doing the first single crochet and then an increase, now we're going to do the spiked bobble stitch. So a spiked bobble is a mix between a mini bobble and a mini peacock kind of put together. So for it, we're going to start by yarning over and going into the next stitch, and then yarning over again and pulling a loop through, and then yarning over a third time and pulling through 2 loops on the hook. Okay, so you're kind of doing a double crochet, except you're not finishing up the double crochet. And you want to repeat that one more time. So let's do it again. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over again, pull a loop through, yarn over a third time and pull through 2 loops on the hook. See how you're kind of accumulating stitches here? Now we're going to do a mini peacock while we still have these stitches on the hook. Okay, so you should have 3 loops on the hook right now. Now for a mini peacock, we're going to chain 2. Okay, so you want to keep your crochet hook in there and you want to chain 2. 1 and 2. Now here's the really tough part. Into the back loop of that first chain that you made there. Okay, so not this chain, but this chain. Into the back loop of that chain, meaning this one on the back here, you want to work a slip stitch. So first, let's get our crochet hook into that back loop. So here, let's show you again close up. There's the 2 front loops. You want to turn it around. See that back loop? Take your crochet hook. You're going to need probably your nail or a needle to get under that, like so. And I'm going to pull my thing tighter, and I just want to do a slip stitch. So I'm going to pull through, and I'm going to pull through that 1 loop. Okay, so you still should have 3 loops on the hook after doing that mini peacock. That's going to make the sharp part of the nose. Now to finish up the spiked bobble, we're going to yarn over and do one more of those double crochet repeat things into that stitch. So we're going to go into the same stitch again, pull a loop through, then yarn over and pull through 2. 1 and 2. Okay, so now you should have 4 loops on the hook. And to finish up the spiked bobble, we're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. There we go. Okay, you can see that's a pointy nose. All right, so that's how you do spiked bobble. I'm coming out with a video soon for my new Amigurumi 101 series to teach what that spiked bobble is really used for. I use it for a lot of different stuff. So make sure to subscribe and enable push notifications so you can see that video so I can show you a little bit more about what that stitch actually does and different variations of it. Okay, so to continue on in this round, we've just done our spiked bobble. Now we want to do an increase stitch into the next stitch. Okay. And now we want to repeat this next part 4 more times. So we're doing a single crochet and then an increase. And you want to repeat that single crochet, then an increase 4 times total. 4 more times. So there's 1 single crochet, then increase. That's going to be 2. And this is going to bring you up from 12 stitches to 18 stitches around. Okay, here's our 3rd repeat. We got 1 more single crochet and then an increase. That's going to be the end of round 3. Okay, so you can see our little pointed nose there. All right, so for round 4, we're going to be adding the ears. Again, I don't like to make the ears separate. I like to make them while I'm crocheting along so I don't have to sew it on. For the ears, we're going to chain 3. Okay, so we're in round 4 now. You want to start by making an ear. You're going to chain, chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Now we're going to work into those back loops again. We're going to pull that first one tight, and you're going to skip the first chain, starting in the second. We're going to do a slip stitch into the back loop of the second chain from the hook right here. Do a slip stitch in that one. Okay. Now we're going to do a single crochet into the next 2 back loops. So 1 single crochet and then another single crochet. Okay, and that's how you're going to make the ears. We're going to work around them into the next round, but yeah. Now we're going to single crochet 9 times, okay? Because there should be 9 single crochets between ears. So we're just going to go into the next stitch and single crochet 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's the 9th right there. Okay, you see our little ear. Now we want to make another ear, so for that we chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to work into those back loops, skip the first back loop, and then start in the second. We're going to do a slip stitch, and then 2 single crochets. Okay, single crochet, and then another one right here. All right. Now we're going to finish up round 3 by doing a single crochet into the last stitches here. That's going to be 9 more single crochets. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And that should be, you should still have 18 stitches around after doing not including the ears. So I kind of just ignore the ears because we're going to crochet around them anyhow. All right, so that'll be the end of round 4. For round 5, we're just doing a single crochet into each stitch around, but you need to skip over the ears. So the way I do that is I pull my loop out a little bit, and then I pull the ear up, and I find the first single crochet, which is right there. So I skip this ear, go into that first single crochet right there. Okay, you want to make sure the ear is on the outside, and we're going to yarn over and pull a loop through. Okay, make sure both these loops are on the that side of the ear, and then we can just pull them tighter. Okay, so you can see it kind of pulls that ear in, and then just do a single crochet. And we're going to do single crochets in each stitch. So there's going to be 18 stitches total. Just don't forget to go around those ears when you get to them. Okay. Okay, here's another ear, so let's go around it. Pull that loop out, go into the next stitch, pull loop through, make sure both loops are on the right side. And there we go. Finish up these last 9 single crochets. Okay. That's going to be the end of round 5 right now. Okay. For round 6, we're just doing another round of just single crochets. So we'll just be single crocheting into each stitch around. That's pretty easy. Just 18 single crochets. While I'm doing this, I'd like to talk about Club Crochet. Club Crochet is actually a membership subscription service for crocheters. You get new patterns every single month, early access to patterns like this. So like Club Crochet members got, I think, 2 weeks early access to this pattern, as well as they have access to all of the Club Crochet or the Goblin patterns in that Goblinoid pattern bundle. And memberships start for only $5 a month, and there's new patterns just like this coming out every single month. And every single pattern that I put on Club Crochet comes with a full video tutorial just like this one, and it keeps the channel alive. And then I have other amigurumi tutorials teaching you how to learn how to crochet amigurumi quicker, easier, better, and yeah, new stuff coming out all the time. All right, so that's going to be our the end of our 6th round there of just single crochets. All right, and you can see how we kind of have our little goblin showing up right there. In the next round, we want to be doing our arms. So for the arms, we're going to be using the bobble stitch, which is slightly bigger than this spiked bobble, but doesn't include that little point thing. So for a bobble stitch, we are going to start the first stitch by doing our bobble stitch here. We're going to yarn over and go into the stitch and yarn over and pull a loop through, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. Okay, so basically the same way we did that. Remember those repeats? But you want to do 4 of those repeats in a row. So there's 1. Let's do 3 more. Yarn over, into the stitch, and yarn over and pull a loop through. Then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. There's 2. Go into the stitch, pull through 2. That's 3. And last one. And there's 4. Okay, and you should have 5 loops on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. And that's going to make a little bobble stitch, which we use for the hand. In between bobble stitches, there are 7 single crochets. So let's do 7 single crochets now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here's 7. And now we're going to do another bobble stitch for our second arm. We're also going to be using these for the legs. So that for the second one, we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. Okay, so there's 1 of those. We're going to do 4 of them. There's 2, here's 3. Okay. All right. And now to finish up this second arm, we're going to yarn over and pull through all those loops. Okay. There's our arms done. Now we're going to finish this up by doing a single crochet into these last 9 stitches. So 1, 2, just going all the way to the end of this round. And then we can move on to adding the face, which I think can be a little bit tricky. Okay. So our last single crochet is going to be right before that first arm that we made. Okay, so we're just going to pull the loop out a little bit so we can add our face without it coming apart. And we're going to start by adding the eyes. So for our eyes, I like using these safety beads. They make your life a little bit easier. You can also use bullion knots if you don't have safety bead eyes. And I hold my characters upside down when I add the eyes so I can find the perfect spot for them. So when we hold it here, the first stitch that you want to go into, we're going to put them on either side of the nose. So if we look at the nose, and you can see right here, there's the increase right before we made our nose. Okay? And you want to go into the right stitch of that increase. Okay, so right there. All right? See how it looks a little bug-eyed there. And for our secondary eye, you want to do the same thing on the other side. So here's our other increase. You want to go onto the right of that, or I mean the left of that increase. It's actually a single crochet that we're putting it into right there. Okay, so just count over 3 stitches from the nose. 1, 2, 3. All right. So you can see our little eyes there. Now we can use these little locking mechanisms and just lock those eyes in. I like adding detail to my eyes, like eyelids and stuff, but I'll show you how to do that once we sew on the lip. All right. Okay, so we got our eyes on. Let's add our lower lip. So I'm going to take this, and you should see that there's 2 ends here. One is the small end from the beginning of the round, and one is the long end that we cut and pulled through. You can really you can really start with either of these ends. Let's start with the long end though. Okay. And you want to start by going into a little bit to the right of the eye. I'm holding it right side up now. Into the right side of the eye right here. And you want to come up well, let's pull it through there, actually, like that. And you want to come up through a stitch above that, okay, because we're giving them a little bit of a frown. Okay, and you see how I have this loop still on the inside? Okay, so I pulled through, but I still have this loop. I want to use that, and I want to pull through enough so that this knot gets pulled through the inside of the mouth, but after I go through our first stitch here. So I lost my needle. Okay, so before I do that, we're going to go down. Look at the top of our chain here. We're going to go down through, not that knot, but this knot right here. Just going to go down through that knot, and then back into the stitch and out through the next stitch on our left right there. Okay? We're just going to go pull that through for a second. And now we want to tie everything a little bit tighter before we continue on. I'm just going to take this off of the needle just so I can handle it a little bit better. So first we want to take this loop from the inside and pull through so that this knot, see that knot at the end? We want that pulled all the way through the piece. Okay. See? So you can see it pulled through on the inside. And then you want to pull this part of the loop up. And then you want to pull everything with the last end tighter. That's going to make sure that it is sewn on correctly and no pieces are like shining through, you know. I'm going to thread it back onto the needle, and we're going to continue going through each of these loops on the chain. Okay, so there's our first one. Let's go through this chain, back into the stitch we came out of, and then out of the next stitch over on our piece. And we're just going to continue doing that. Go into the next stitch right here. It looks very strange, I know, but there's our next loop. There we go. It took me a few tries to really understand how these lips were sewn on. There's the next one. In and then out through the next stitch. And you'll probably notice that you'll have a few extra chains. It depends on where you want to sew this lip on. Don't worry about that though, because we're going to pull these knots through anyhow. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like this could be the last one. So we're going to go through that lip, into the stitch. I mean, I could go one more over here, but I want to add some room for the tooth. So instead I'm just going to go right into the piece and pull that through. And then we're going to take this end, thread it on the needle, and then we're going to go in. So here's where we just went into our piece. We want to go over one and then down one to make that little frown again. Okay, so we're going to go down there and just pull that through so that that knot comes through. We can double knot these two ends. 1 and 2. We can cut the ends here. Don't toss, you can toss this little end away, but we're going to use this long end to add some detail for the eye. But let's look at our lip. The lips, to me, never look quite right until there's a tooth on it. So let's add our tooth, but you can see how our lips kind of formed. So for our tooth, it doesn't really matter which ends you sew on. It kind of looks like there's a little bit longer of an end here, and I kind of like that side on the outside of the lip. So it's up to you which side you want the tooth on, or if you want more than one. Let's put our tooth on, I usually end up putting on the left side. So let's try putting it on the right side. So you're going to thread each of these ends, and you want each of the ends to go through a different part on the lip. Okay, so we're going to go right here. And you want to go through the body, not through the lip itself. Okay, and if you can, you want that knot to be pulled through. Only if you can though. If it's being too much of a trouble, like right now it's kind of being a little bit. There you go. See how the knot is just barely poking through right there? That's kind of what you want. And then we'll thread the other end of the tooth. And it keeps the tooth pulled in, makes it less of a snaggle tooth kind of thing going on. We're going to go into a different stitch from that first stitch. You want to go in through a different one so that you have something to knot together on. See? And this one should be easier to pull that knot through. Yeah, see? There you go. Try to get those knots in. There we go. And then we'll just double knot these on the inside. Pull it tight. All right. We can cut these ends pretty close. We don't need this white yarn for anything else. And there we go. We have our lip and our tooth on. Now the last thing I want to do to this face before we continue on is I like to add some detail to the eye. It's kind of easier to use a smaller crochet or smaller needle than this for this part, but we're going to use the thread from the end of our lip. You can also just cut some off of the end of your yarn before you started this, but I forgot to mention that. And we're going to go in through the right side of the eye. This is kind of the tricky part. I like going in right, like between a stitch, so like right there, okay? Yeah, like that. And then see how I pulled it off of the needle, and then I thread the other side of the yarn, and I go across the eye. And I want to go in through, this one's a little bit easier to see. See, here's the top, here's the V of the crochet stitch. You want to go right under that V. See how there's two strands of yarn there? You want to go in between those strands of yarn. And it'll add just kind of like a crazed look to him. I mean, he is a goblin after all. He's just thinking about war and money. So he's got to look a little bit crazy. And you could do that on both eyes, make them look a little bit tired. You can make that on the top of the eye instead of the bottom of the eye and make them look a little bit angry or sleepy. And we're just going to double knot those. We can cut the yarn. Throw that to the side. And take a look at our goblin's face. There we go. We're cruising. Look at that. It looks great. All right. So let's continue on in the body. Okay. And I think we're on round 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're on round 8. Okay. So for round 8, we're just going to be doing a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. Okay. So it's not really that tough. We're just going to be single crocheting all the way around. Oopsies, lost a little piece there. Okay. There should be 18 stitches around in round 8. Yeah, and the Goblinoid pattern bundle also, it includes how to add a bunch of like details to them. So I added a video on how to make warts and how to add rings to them and scars if you want to make your guy really detailed. Eventually I want to do a whole series of these kind of fantasy-like creatures. So you can make them for like your D&D campaigns or whatever you want there. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 8. For round 9, we're going to be making our little feetsies. You still have them upside down, but you can see it's the little feet, which are made with our bobble stitches again. And for our feet, we're going to single crochet 2. Okay, so we're on round 9. We're going to single crochet 2, so it's 1 and 2. And then we'll make our first foot using a bobble stitch. So again, for our bobble stitch, we're going to yarn over into the stitch and pull a loop through. Yarn over and pull through 2. We're going to repeat that 4 times. Okay, so there's 2 repeats, 3, and there's 4. Okay. And to finish up the foot, we're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. Now we're going to do 4 single crochets between feet. So into the next 4 stitches, we'll just do a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Now we'll do another foot. And we're just doing that bobble stitch for that foot. I figure we've done pretty much 4 bobble stitches now. I probably can just go and do it. Okay. There we go. And to finish up this round, we're just going to do single crochets into all the stitches around. Into the rest of the stitches, rather. All right. And I think there's 10. Yeah, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. I might be wrong, but let's find out. 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe? 8? Oh man, I keep getting the loop stuck. 8. Yeah, look at that, I was right. 9. Apparently I've made a lot of these. 10. Okay, so now we're going to start our decreasing rounds. Okay, so for, let's see, we just did round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're on round 10, I think. We're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch. And then we're going to do a stitch I call the sharp decrease. You can do any kind of decrease you want, but I like to make my decreases very flat so that they sit down really easily, so they don't have like anything sticking out a little bit. So for that, we're going to go into the next stitch and pull a loop through, like we're doing a single crochet. Then we're going to go into the next stitch, pull another loop through, and pull that second loop through the 2 on the hook. Okay, that's going to be what I call a sharp decrease to really pull it in. So for this round, we're going to do a single crochet and then a decrease 6 times total. Okay, we're going to repeat that 6 times total. So let's do it again. Single crochet, and then a sharp decrease, boop, and boop, pull through 2. Let's keep going. Single crochet, sharp decrease, boop, boop, pull through. Now this is going to bring you down from 18 stitches to 12 stitches around. Okay. One more decrease. And then a decrease right here. All right. So before we continue on, let's pull this loop a little bit out. I always like to add like a signature belly button to my piece. You only need like a little bit of yarn, so I'm just using that thread from that eye again. And I'm just basically sewing on an X onto his stomach. So right here. And I do this for each one of my characters because I think it's kind of funny just to add a belly button. There we go. Just like that. It's very subtle. You see that little X. Just gives them a belly button. And we'll just double knot these. Belly button is such a cute word. All right. And I'm just going to stuff these ends in there too. You can barely see that belly button, so let's kind of like pull it out just a little bit. All right. Looks pretty good. His hands are looking a little funky, but that's all right. That happens. You know, they're goblins. They go through war. All right, so we can stuff him just a little bit now. And you don't need much stuffing, just a little bit. Just it's best to stuff him a little bit now before our last round. And you could add before we finish him up, you could add his loincloth, but I'll show you how to do that at the very end. Actually, it'll be a little bit easier to do because I like to embroider the loincloth on. All right. Tweaking his little ears a little bit. Okay, and we'll just do our last round here. Oh, by the way, if you wanted to make him into a finger puppet, I sometimes make my characters into finger puppets like this. And I have a video for how to crochet finger puppets. There should be a link right here or in the description. Now is the time when you would like to do that, when you move over to that finger puppet video. But we're not making a finger puppet. We're just making him kind of like just a regular old guy. Use him for a chess piece or something. And we'll just do a decrease into each stitch all the way around for this last round. So we're just going to do that sharp decrease, go into both these stitches, and pull that second loop through the 2 on the hook. And you want to do that 6 times total. So there's 1. Going to really pull it in. 2. 3. 4. 5, and then one more right here. There we go, 6. All right, and we can finish this guy up by cutting the yarn and pulling that loop all the way through. We'll sew it together in just a second. First, we're going to add a little bit more stuffing to them. And I like to use a pencil for this. You can use the back of your crochet hook too, but we just want to stuff them up a little bit more. Just enough so that he is not like deflating, but you don't want to go overboard with the stuffing. Let's go grab a little bit more because it can show through if you're not careful. You know what I mean? If you're, especially if your stitches are really big, you can start seeing the stuffing through it, and you don't really want that. Let's just do the rest of this stuffing here. All right. There we go. Yeah. Now let's sew it closed before we add our loincloth. And I actually have a video for how to sew closed, but I'll just show you how to do it really quick. I count up 3 stitches. So if we count this, I count as the 0 stitch, and I count up 3 stitches from that. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and go into the top of 3, and I come out of 0. Pull through. Don't pull this too tight, and then go into the next stitch right here. Okay, so that's 4. Go down through 4 and come out through 1. Okay, we're just keep going across basically. Now once you're through those 2 stitches, you can pull that first one a little tighter. Then go through, leave that one a little bit loose now. Now go in through 5, okay, just the next stitch over. So there's 4, 5, and come out through, I think 2 right there. Pull that a little bit tighter now that we're in there. And then to finish it up, go in through, down through 6. So there's 5, we go, it's hard to see where 6 is, so I just kind of like go to the next stitch over right here. And then out through the back. Once you're out through the back, you can pull everything a little tighter. Go up, pull it tight, and then go back down through the same stitch you just came out of, and then back out through the rump. Boop, there we go. All right. Now we can cut that yarn close. And the last thing that I want to add to our guy, because he's a little naked, is we want to add a loincloth. Now, if you get the bundle, I'll show you how to make a one that's kind of like it actually is sewn on like this. But for this video, I'm going to be showing you how to embroider a loincloth on. So we're just going to need some of our brown yarn here, and I have this little bitty thing of it. You don't need much at all. Like that's basically all you need. We'll cut the end here. Making them do a little pirouette. And we will thread this onto the needle. We're going to start by going through the back right here. And you want to go through one stitch and out through the next, just like that, okay? Okay, just like kind of wherever you need to on the back as far as the exact position. And you want to pull it almost all the way through so that there's a little bit of end here. And we're going to go around to the leg, and we're going to go in through right before the stitch on the leg. So right here, we're going to go in and out. Okay? And then we're going to go back in through that. So we're kind of doing like a loop. All right. Now we're going to go across to the next leg. And we're going to come back out through, I guess, pretty much anywhere on the waist. And we're just going to kind of fill in the groin area. Just covering it up. And I'm just kind of like going in and out through these stitches. It doesn't have to be very clean because it's like a tattered loincloth, so it doesn't really have to look too nice. Okay. And I'm just covering up as much as I can. All right. And we'll come back out through where the foot is, right there. You can see we got a little loincloth kind of sewn on, embroidered there. And we're going to go back across and go in through where this part is sticking out, and then out through where we first came out, right, like that. Okay, and we're just going to double knot these two in the back so it looks like it's actually tied on him. Double knot these guys. Ooh, there we go. And then we can just cut the ends. And now we have our crocheted goblin so that we can send him to war to fight for, well, I don't know, whatever. Gold, probably. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I come out with new videos like this all the time. And if you want to get the full Goblinoid pattern bundle, go to clubcrochet.com/goblinoid or become a Club Crochet member at just clubcrochet.com. And every single guy that I'm pulling out right now has a full video tutorial that comes along with them so that you can watch a video just like this, as well as printable PDFs and all that other stuff. And if you use the code Goblin, GERBLIN, at checkout on wherever you're buying it, you'll get, I think it's like 15% or 10, 15, 20, I don't know. A certain percentage off, though, of the final bundle, so you can get it for cheaper. Thanks again for watching. Pasta la pizza, and happy hooking. Bye.